How you doing, folks? I'm Alan Butler with Butler Contracting, where we're doing simple better. Today, we're going to answer the question about, do I need to set fence posts in concrete? That's a great question. We're going to dive into the nitty-gritty on setting fence posts and how it all works. So you're looking at getting a fence installed, you want to install a fence, and you need to set the post. The post setting is the most structural part of the fence, the most important part of the fence, to make sure it's done correctly. So it holds that fence system up and it lasts for a long time. Now there are some options out there on the market when it comes to setting posts. There's concreting posts is probably the most common thing out there on the market. Drilling or digging a hole, putting a fence post in it, and then either mixing or dry mixing or wet mixing concrete and pouring it into a hole and letting that fence post set in concrete. That's one method. It works well in certain areas of the country. Other areas, it may or may not work as well. Drainage has something to do with that, where some places they just put gravel in the hole, or they may put gravel in the bottom for drainage and pack that hole in. One of the other options they've come out with on the market is a foam product. So there are some bags of foam that you can get that have an activator in it, and you pop it and then you kind of shake it up and you release this spray foam type material into the hole, and that sets the post. They use these on like big transmission lines and big infrastructure projects as well. There's different epoxy resins and stuff in these pieces of foam. They work really well in certain areas and dry conditions. In areas that have a lot of drainage or flooding or water, I wouldn't recommend them. They don't seem to last as well, or they can create some uplift and upheaving on them. So there's a couple of options there. And then the third option is driving post, which is at Butler Contracting our favorite thing to do. And we've really kind of moved towards driving posts whenever possible on most of our fence projects anymore. Typically, we're going to do this on an ornamental, a chain link, or a wooden privacy style fence. And what driving post allows us to do is we have a pneumatic driver where we're able to drive that post down into the ground and set it down into the clay layer. So we actually get through the rock and the dirt and the soil and the sand, and we encapsulate that entire post with as minimal ground disturbance around that post as possible. And what that allows us to do is actually drive like a bridge piling would straight into the ground and adhere that thing straight into the clay layer. And when that clay shrinks and dries up, it actually locks around the post, creating a tight bond. And in some cases, this can be just as good, if not better, than concrete. So that's what we typically prefer to do. Now, unfortunately, not all the soil conditions in our area, depending on what part of the central Texas or the counties around Bastrop that we're in. Some areas it works very well. Some areas it's very rocky, or there's a lot of sand in some places, so we have to drive a little deeper than normal to get to that clay layer. The rocky areas make it a real big challenge when it comes to driving. We're not always able to drive in those rocky areas. And then in addition to that, we might have other locations where it goes in really easy, or maybe much more difficult. So we kind of have started to map all that out throughout our service area, so a pretty good idea where we can and cannot drive. But in general, if we can drive the post, it's going to be a little bit better for you. It's less labor for our crew. It's going to be a little bit less material that we have to expend. We don't have to dig all these holes and tear up your yard. It just makes it an easier, smoother process all around. Lugging a bunch of concrete around and mixing it all up, putting it in the hole, and then trying to deal with all that. It's just a whole mess. It's a lot of labor. It's a lot more materials to handle. So we just prefer to drive into the ground. If it works just as well as concrete, we might as well do it. Saves you, the customer, money, and it saves us a lot of time. And our guys are happy because they don't have to lug a bunch of heavy stuff around and mix things up and dig a bunch of holes. They'd rather just drive a post. It makes our crew happy. So if we're going to do setting a post for a fence, we're going to probably be driving it whenever we possibly can. Otherwise, our other preferred method is actually digging a hole and setting concrete. We rarely use foam. We're just not big fans of it. We've seen some issues with it. There's a few projects here and there we've done some foam for minor repairs or something like that, but we wouldn't recommend putting an entire fence up with it, especially if you have a low-lying area or any kind of drainage or flooding problems in that area. It would definitely fail long-term. So it's a little bit on a fence post, and do they need to be set in concrete? There are different options out there on the market, so that's how it all works. And we hope to see you on your next fence project.